Now in terms of the build quality, let me just make you hear it. It's decent, but it just doesn't have that same reassuring thud-like noise that the Tata Punch has to offer. Now let me remove this bottle first, and then I'll make you hear how the doors sound, and then you can compare for yourself. That's the reassuring thud. One more time, I'll do it for you. These days, finding a value for money car is a bit of a tough choice, and you really don't have too many options because the last couple of years, the chip shortage, the COVID crisis, everything has led up to prices of cars. But still, there are a couple of options out there which can be called VFM. One of the big examples, of course, is the Ignis, because this car, the base version of this car, retails for the same price as the top of the line version of the Alto VXI. So that's one area where this car offers you good value for money. The other option, of course, is the Tata Punch, and this car feels like a miniature version of the Nexon and has the same kind of space and the same kind of swag factor from the outside. So today in this video we'll find out which compact crossover is better. Is the Ignis a better choice for you, or is the Tata Punch a better choice if you're in the market for a compact crossover? You don't want to buy a compact SUV because you feel that they're not their money's worth. Then we'll find out which one is worth between these two cars. Let's get started with this video. So by now, all of you are aware that Woodmo are the online expert when it comes to spare parts, and the best point is that they have the spare parts for all vehicles available in India. So even if your car is out of production now, maybe you have a large generation model, even then they have the spare part available, they have the entire catalog, and the best point is that they have the same spare part from a host of different component makers, which gives you great flexibility in the pricing overall. So check them out today, check out the app, it's available both for iOS as well as Android devices, and also check out the website for the latest schemes as well as offers. Well, so let's quickly talk about the Maruti Suzuki Ignis. The first thing you'll immediately notice when you enter the cabin is a lot of familiar bits and pieces. The power window buttons are the same on a lot of Maruti cars. You also get same type of AC vents in a lot of Maruti cars, and of course, the other big highlight is this: the infotainment unit, the Smart Play Studio. It's also same on a lot of other cars in the range. So Maruti Suzuki saves a lot of money over there, a lot of cost is saved, and that of course translates into you getting a decent deal. Now in terms of the overall look and feel, you get hand lock display and a little bit of digital in them, and of course the seat comfort also is decent. The steering wheel is also nice to hold. This of course has been added at the dealership level, and this seat covers are also extra from the Nexa dealership. They don't come with these kind of seats. This car gets plain seats, and the upholstery is all in cloth, so that's something there. Now this is one level below the top of the line. This is the mid-level version, so you don't get automatic climate control. You do get these rotary type knobs. The top of the line version gets automatic climate control, but apart from that, it's pretty well equipped. You also don't get automatic headlamps on this particular version. So how is it now compared to its main rival, the Tata Punch? Now in terms of the build quality, let me just make you hear it. It's decent, but it just doesn't have that same reassuring thud-like noise that the Tata Punch has to offer. So that's one area where this car is slightly behind. The plastic quality though is decent, and the other area where I think this car is behind the Tata Punch is overall seat comfort in itself is okay, but it just doesn't have that same extra bit of comfort and that design of the seats which the Punch has. So I think those are two areas where the Punch has a clear advantage over the Maruti Ignis. But apart from that, the funky design of the cabin is quite good. Youthful people will like it, or maybe if you're a little bit conservative like me, you might say it's just too much and in your face. Well, so now let me quickly tell you about the Tata Punch and how is it to sit in. Now let me remove this bottle first, and then I'll make you hear how the doors sound, and then you can compare for yourself. That's the reassuring thud. One more time, I'll do it for you. Of course, 5-star safety crash test rating means that you get a very solid car which offers you very good reassurance, and this is the kind of car you like to travel with your entire family. And if you're going up the hills or going up on a long distance journey, then you'll prefer to be inside this car than the Ignis. You also get a lot of equipment: automatic headlamps, automatic wipers, climate control, Harman sound system. The touchscreen though isn't really the best, and I think it's even behind that old school Maruti Suzuki system. So Tata should update the look, the feel of this touchscreen. The sound though is quite good. Why this car also is better is that it gets digital as well as analog dials, so it's a mixture, and you get a lot of information in those digital dials. And the seat comfort definitely is half a step ahead. It's not a big jump up, but definitely half a step ahead of the Ignis. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that if you want a car which offers you comfort, safety, good equipment, as well as a reassuring feel, then the Punch, especially in the front of the cabin, is a better option than the Maruti Suzuki Ignis. So let's jump in the back seat and see how good that really is. Well, so now I'm in the back seat of the Ignis. In terms of pure space, there's a decent amount of space. The knee room is quite generous, and headroom also is quite generous, even for me, who's 5'10". Even about 6'1" or 6'2", headroom is more than sufficient because I have place between the roof and my head of almost my hand fits over there, so more than my hand actually. So you do have place even for 6-footers. It's not very height though, so you can easily have two. Third occupant will be a bit of a push. No AC vents, that's a bit of a towner, and no charging points as well. The windows also are slightly on the smaller side, so that's something which you will not appreciate. The doors though, they open up nice and wide, so easy entry and exit points for whoever is sitting in. But if you're comparing this car with the Tata Nexon, the Tata Punch, who wins the battle? Undoubtedly, the Punch has the advantage because it gets a armrest. It offers you a little more space and you sit up much higher, so it gives you a better view of the road ahead and feels like a proper SUV. This one really does feel like a hatchback, which is a bit of a crossover. But yes, in isolation, it's quite okay. But when you compare it with its rivals, especially the Punch, it is slightly behind. Well, so now I'm in the back seat of the Tata Punch. Now, the biggest strength of this car in the back is, of course, that the doors open really nice and wide. It's a huge opening. It's a 90-degree opening exactly. And that means that getting in and out of this car is a breeze, especially if you have older people at home, older parents at home. Then the Tata Punch's back seat is the one to go for. What you'll also appreciate is the nice and large window, which makes this cabin feel nice and bright and airy. And the seat comfort also is quite good. In terms of knee room as well as headroom, it's at par with the Ignis, so there's not much to choose in terms of the space. But yes, the seat comfort is better. You also get an armrest, which that car doesn't get, and this also gives it a slightly better feeling of comfort as well as luxury. And you also don't get AC vents just like that car, but of course these things make it stand out. And of course, the nice wide opening for the door is a big bonus as well. So who wins the battle of the back seat? I think it's quite evident that the Tata Punch has the clear advantage in both the front and the back. Well, so let's quickly show you the boot of the Ignis. Now, the back end of the car is a design which people don't like because it's very square and boxy. And that square and boxy design though translates into a good amount of space on the interior and especially the boot. Now, it's a very compact car, but the boot of this car is generally quite decent in terms of the overall space, and it's a well-shaped boot as well. The only bit of a letdown is that there's a huge sill, so you have to put in your bags and heave them in rather than just slide them in and out. That's the only bit of negative, but apart from that, for its shape and size, it's quite a well-sized boot. How is it to the Tata Punch, its main rival? Well, I have to say that it's really a very marginal difference between both these cars. Who wins and who loses, it's really very marginal, and both of them are nearly identical in terms of the shape as well as size. So I think in the boot department, we can give it a tie with the Tata Punch. Well, so now I'm driving the Maruti Suzuki Ignis, and I have to say that this car, definitely the highlight is the 1.2K series petrol, and it's better than the Tata Punch's engine. It feels more responsive, it feels more eager, and it definitely feels much quieter than the Tata Punch. The chassis is quite okay. The ride quality though is slightly behind because the high-speed ride isn't as good or as confidence-inspiring as the Tata Punch, and neither is the slow city speed ride because the slow city speeds, most of the bumps and potholes, some of them do filter into the cabin, so that's one area with which you'll have to live. The gearbox is better. Both manuals and AMTs offer you better shift patterns, and they definitely feel much nicer to drive as well, so that's something which most buyers will appreciate about this car. What you'll also appreciate about this car is the fact that the steering wheel is very light, and some people prefer that. Some people will prefer the heavier steering wheel of the Tata Punch. The benefit, of course, of a heavier steering wheel is it feels more communicative. This one doesn't feel as communicative, but yes, it won't tire you out at the end of a long day like it will on the Tata Punch. So that's also something which a lot of buyers will appreciate about the car. What else is there? Well, I think it's very close between both these cars. The high-speed stability, that one definitely an advantage, but its slow city speeds and the responsiveness of this engine make this car a very good choice as well. Well, so in today's video, we're comparing the Maruti Suzuki Ignis with this car, the Tata Punch, and I have to say that the Tata Punch truly excels at being a highway car. If you are someone who drives a lot on the highway, then this is the car you'll prefer. The suspension feels better, it feels more comfortable, it feels more planted, and it definitely feels much more reassuring than the Maruti Suzuki Ignis does. This car doesn't feel like a small car, it feels like you're driving a much bigger package, and that is something which a lot of buyers will truly appreciate about the Tata Punch. What you'll also appreciate about this car is these ride comfort at slow city speeds. When you're driving this car in the city and driving at slower speeds, definitely this car eats up those badly pastured roads and those pothole roads with ease, and there's really nothing which filters into the cabin or makes you feel uncomfortable inside this car. So that's also one area where you'll appreciate it. Apart from that, the steering wheel is quite accurate and it's quite nicely weighed. It's not overtly heavy and it's neither too light like the Ignis. So that also is the department where you'll enjoy the Tata Punch. The engine performance, well, it's more than sufficient. It's quite adequate, but it just doesn't have that peppy nature that you get on the Maruti Suzuki Ignis. The K series on the Ignis is by far the best engine that you can get. This one though is adequate, but when you start revving it, then you can feel it get a little strained, and even its bottom end performance or its lower end performance isn't as good as the Ignis. It doesn't feel as responsive as the one on that car. So for people who drive in the city, they'll have to rev it up quite a bit to get it going. What else is there? Well, this car, in terms of the dynamic abilities, body roll is under control. And as I said, the gearboxes are nearly identical on both these cars. This one has a 5-speed manual and a 5-speed AMT, and both of them are nearly identical in the way they drive. So there's hardly anything to choose between them as well. The AMT also suffers from a little bit of lurchiness, a little bit of lag, like you do get on the Ignis. And manual gearbox, I think the better option is definitely the Ignis, because this one feels a little bit of notchiness in it. It's not overtly notchy, but definitely has a slightly notchiness and doesn't feel as smooth, doesn't shift as smoothly as the one on the Suzuki Ignis does. So these are things which you have to keep in mind when you make a buying decision. And overall, I think that it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Both these cars are pretty similar, very identical, and neck in a lot of departments. But yes, I think performance-wise, if you're a performance seeker, the Ignis has the advantage. But of course, if you are someone who drives on the highways a lot, then it is the Tata Punch that you'll truly appreciate. Well, so who wins today's comparison? Well, it's very simple. The Tata Punch really has the advantage because it looks like a proper SUV. It has better space in the interior, and the ride comfort truly is exemplary. That said, the only bit of a downside is the 1.2 petrol, which doesn't feel as exciting to drive as the 1.2 on the Ignis. But apart from that, as a whole package, the Punch has the advantage and is the winner of today's comparison.